Hello and welcome to my free video training series. If you've watched my videos before, you know that I am Jeremy Mayo. I am a lighting designer, programmer, master electrician, systems integrator, and all-around lighting artist. Today we're going to be talking about connecting ETC Nomad to Vision, specifically locally on the same computer. Now this is a very easy process compared to most visualizers that I've worked with. Though we'll also include some additional troubleshooting if you have issues with the process. So some assumptions we're going to make here is that you have Vectorworks, Vision, and Nomad installed on your computer already, the computer that you'll be using. I recommend using 2 monitors for this. Whenever you're working with a visualizer and a console software on the same computer, you really want 2 workspaces so you don't have to flip between the 2. For this, we're going to be using Vectorworks Educational 2020 as well as Vision 2020. I believe they're both currently on Service Pack 3. We're going to be using EOS version 2.9.1, though all of these steps should stay relevant for at least a while. ETC hasn't changed their network configuration in quite a while, though that being said, I haven't tried the 3.0 software beta yet. So without further ado, the first thing you'll want to do is set up your show file in either EOS or Vectorworks. Today we're going to be doing that in Vectorworks. Now I've gone ahead and already created a quick example file that we're going to be using for today. As you can see, we have a basic floor, just a red wall behind, and a riser with a drum kit. We also have this light, one light hung on a pipe above. Now this light is a Verilight 3500 spot. It's not a custom fixture, it's just from the library in Vectorworks. And what we've done is we've given it an address already. And we've just told this that it's going to be Universe 1, Address 1. Any light that you're going to be putting in your visualizer in Vision needs to be addressed for it to be controlled. Fun feature that's new in 2020 is it also tells you the footprint of that light. So now once you have whatever setup you might have and all of your lights are addressed, we're going to go up to File and Send to Vision. Now, this sometimes takes quite a while, so we're going to go ahead and wait for this to load. Great, so you can see we have everything we had just populated into here. Can't really see the floor that well, but that's because there's no lights on in Vision. Now, all we need to do is head up to DMX, change DMX provider, and then we just want to make sure this is set to SACN. That's the protocol we're going to be using for control today. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And now we are all ready to just hop over to the EOS side of things. So I'm going to minimize this real quick. We're going to go ahead and launch our EOS software. We're going to head over to Settings. Make this window a little bit bigger for you. We're going to go down to Network on the side here. And then all we need to do in this tab, you shouldn't need to touch anything other than to just go down to the second area, Output Protocols. And SACN, you want to make sure that the first box is checked so that you're outputting SACN on your primary network adapter, which for us is Ethernet, yours might say something else, and that it's outputting by default. This doesn't mean that EOS is only outputting SACN, it just means that it's one of the output protocols it's using by default. Then the other settings here, your default options should be fine, priority 100, start at Universe 1, and current release version, and we'll go ahead and accept that. So we'll go ahead and launch offline with Viz. You can launch this offline, no issue. I do have a dongle, though I'm not using that currently. The only difference is that if you're using the offline with visualizer mode, ETC will send certain data packets about once every minute that will make your lights flash. Which, would be inappropriate in a show environment. Things would be going a little bit crazy, but in a visualizer, when you're just trying to get the sense of things, it usually works out pretty well. So now we have EOS open. We're going to go ahead and start a new show. reset my workspace here. So now all you need to do is make sure that your show file in EOS has the same patch as everything you did in Vectorworks. Now, if you want to be really slick, you could export your Vectorworks patch to Lightwrite and then straight into EOS. Save yourself a little bit of time, but it doesn't really matter so long as it gets done. So let's hop into patch. And if you remember from before, we just have one VL3500 spot at 1/1. So we're going to go ahead and patch that. Channel 1, type VL3500 spot. You can see it's telling us the footprint is 31. That's a good way to verify you have the right profile. We're going to put that at 1/1. Now, if we open Vision, you can see our light is no longer pointing into the sky. Make this window a little smaller so you can see both. This is why I recommend using 2 monitors, though for recording these videos I can only use 1. Now, if we tell channel 1 at full, there we go. Our light's on in Vision, and that's all you need to do to set up that connection. Verify we have other controls. We'll go ahead and just move this around a little bit. Make sure we have color control. And we do. Not reflecting so much off that red wall, but our beam is changing color. And that's it. We are good to go. Now, if this worked for you and your lights are functioning properly, you can go ahead and stop the video here. Next, I'm going to be talking about some scenarios where and when this might not work. Now, before we get into those scenarios, you should just double check that your patch is correct and you're using the correct fixture profiles, namely. We used a relatively simple light, but if you're using anything with multi-cell, something like that, you really need to be careful about your patch, otherwise some weird things are going to start happening. That being said, if you're controlling things in EOS and something is happening in Vision, even if it's something weird or strange or not quite correct, that means the connection between the two is working. For example, if we had accidentally patched this as a Verilight 3000 spot instead of 3500, you can see we're still getting some flashing happening. And that we still have pan and tilt control. So you can see that connection between EOS and Vision is still working, it's just not working quite right. So double check things like your patch and profiles if you're experiencing something like this. Now, what to do if this connection doesn't work, if you're seeing absolutely nothing in Vision. We're going to go ahead and exit EOS. We're going to exit Vision as well, real quick. So what may be happening, I can't speak for sure depending on your specific network setup, is that Vision is unable to detect that SACN traffic on your network, or on your network adapter. So by default, the way we just set it up is that EOS and Vision are using your default network adapter, whatever that might happen to be on your computer. And it's just bouncing SACN traffic from one program to another using that adapter. Depending on your antivirus settings, firewalls, your specific network adapter, things like that, that traffic might be getting blocked. So now I'm going to walk you through what you need to do in case that happens. So we're going to be using something called a loopback adapter, which is a virtual network adapter that you can add to your computer. To do this, the first thing we're going to do is come down to our start menu. Unfortunately, this is blocked by my banner here, though I'm just clicking on the start menu. We're actually going to right-click on the start menu icon to get this menu, and we're going to go to Device Manager. Now, under Device Manager, we're going to come down to where we see Network Adapters. We're going to highlight that and go up to Action, Add Legacy Hardware. We're just going to go ahead and click through this dialog next, And we're going to click this second option here, install the hardware that I manually select from a list, advanced. Next, we're going to scroll down to network adapters again, and hit next. Now it'll give you a list of all possible network adapters you can install. We're going to scroll down to Microsoft on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, find the Microsoft KM Test Loopback Adapter. We're going to go ahead and hit next. Next again. And now it's installed. So now we can verify that this worked by going to our network settings. I'm going to do that from the bottom right notifications area near the system clock. Again, that's hidden from my banner. Apologies, but I'm just going to open up my network internet settings. You can get to this from the control panel start menu. It's really pretty easy. I'm going to go to change adapter options. This is on Windows 10. Now, if you're on Mac, this will be a little bit different. You'll be looking for something called localhost instead. I'm not going to be covering that in this video, though if you Google how to set localhost as your network adapter on a Mac OS, you should be able to find your way through. But here on Windows 10, we're going to go to change adapter options. Now, you can see we have three things here. We have Ethernet. If you remember from when we were in EOS before, that was my primary network adapter. We have Loopback, which is the KM Test Loopback adapter. And we have something for my VPN, which we're currently disabled. Now, real quick, we're going to right-click this, hit Properties. Under Properties, we're going to go to Internet Protocol version 4, and again, hit Properties. Now, this is the way I like to set this. You can leave it as default, though I personally like to give it a static IP address so I always know what's happening. I set this to use a static IP of 10.0.0.100 and a subnet mask of 255.255.0.0 with a default gateway of 10.0.0.1. If you don't know what any of these things mean, that's okay. It doesn't particularly matter. Other than that, we're just giving this a specific address. Going to go ahead and hit OK. Going to go ahead and hit yes. Great. Now, so by default, EOS is going to try and use whatever network adapter your computer is defaulting to, which for us is still Ethernet. So what we need to do is we need to disable any other network adapter besides our loopback adapter. This is a feature, I suppose, of EOS that I don't particularly like. I wish you could change the network adapter that it's using, like, frankly, any other console. But that's okay. Real quick, we'll just disable everything else so that our computer is forced to use this loopback adapter. We can go ahead, exit out of here. And now we just want to open up EOS again. And then we'll hop back to that settings window. Go back to network. And now up at the top, you should see that the console here now says loopback or something similar instead of Ethernet or whatever it said before. This is confirming that we're using that loopback adapter. You can see it's pulling the same information that we set for our static IP, 10.0.0.100, subnet mask, 255.255.0.0, all of that, and we're still outputting SACN. We'll accept those settings, and real quick, we'll just open Vision again. Just to be safe, I'm going to reopen this file as well, so that Vectorworks 100% sees the only network adapter that is possible. Don't think I made any changes. Open Vectorworks back up. Vectorworks requires activation over the internet before it can be used. Now, so because we're using a loopback adapter, we are not connected to the internet anymore, which is kind of a pain. So See if it'll activate even though we're not connected. Unfortunate. So if this happens, you can re-enable your primary internet adapter. All you have to do is make sure EOS is already running before you do that. Because once EOS is running, it will not change the network adapter that it's using. So you can use the internet again once you set this to loopback. You just have to go back into those network settings, which we'll do now. Change adapter options, and we'll re-enable this connection. Give it a second to find itself. There we go. Now we should have an internet connection, and we do. Go ahead and try this again. My computer thinks Vectorworks is a game, apparently. That's amusing. Go ahead and open that file again. Bada bing, bada boom, there it is. Now, I'm going to disable that adapter again. So now we only have loopback. And I'll send this to Vision again. Oh, and this also needs activation. That's really quite a pain that they've put that in there. Well, let's see what happens if we hit activate. Let's see what happens if we continue in demo mode. Oh, bother. Well, I guess we'll just leave our internet enabled until we have Vision open. You would think they only ask you to activate the product once, but here we are. Try that again. Send to Vision. Now let's go ahead and change our adapter options. Disable Ethernet. If we hop back into EOS, you can see, like before, like I said, that something is happening here. There's a flashing happening, meaning there is a connection between these two, and this is running completely on loopback. And you see this opened the previous file I had, which was a Verilight 3000 spot. So let's just change that back to a 3500. And there we go. We have a full connection again. Verify we have full control. And there we go. So some takeaways. You only need to go about disabling, or rather re-enabling, your primary network adapter if Vectorworks and Vision are forcing you to activate again. Something about my setup is making me do that, though that might not happen for you. Though it shouldn't cause any problems with your connection. Again, using loopback, Vision will just see that traffic, and there you go. Though again, this step should only be taken if it doesn't work just straight out of the box on your primary network adapter. That's all you need to know. This is completely scalable. You can set this up in whatever order you'd like. Personally, I like to create my rig in Vectorworks first, patch everything, and then export to Lightright into EOS and then connect to Vision in that order, but it really doesn't matter. You can start with a show file in EOS and then build everything in Vectorworks and then patch. Doesn't matter so long as everything has the same data at the end of the day. As always, please feel free to email me with any questions you might have, and you can find more videos at my website, www.jeremymayo.com. Thank you very much, and have an excellent day.